Good evening and welcome to the WDSU News Hot Seat. I'm Travers Mackle. Tonight, we continue our Commitment 2018 debates. Up tonight, the District 93 House seat. Check this out. Here is a map of the district. It's diverse, running from the Garden District through parts of Central City and covering the entire French Quarter CBD downtown area of New Orleans. It also includes the Superdome, the Arena, and the Convention Center, as well as residential areas like the Warehouse District, parts of Treme, and the 7th Ward. The seat is being vacated by current state representative Helena Moreno, as she will soon be sworn in as a city council member at large in New Orleans. 4 people qualified to replace Moreno, all of them Democrats. They are, in alphabetical order, Eldon Deloyd, L. Anderson, Kenneth Charles, Kenny Bordez, Royce Duplessis, and Daniel Faust. Gentlemen, thank you all for being here. We have lots of questions to get to. Let's do an opening statement. Mr. Anderson, we're going to start with you. You have 1 minute to tell voters why you're the best candidate.
So first of all, Travis, I want to tell you, I want to say condolences to the Benson family. And second of all, thank you for having me. But I'm actually got in this race and to run in this race because our education system, 2, crime for the last 14 years has been poor raid shootings. Number 3, affordable housing. And as I'm on the campaign trail now, I'm finding that our senior living places is in dire need of tender loving care.
All right, Mr. Bordez, you have 1 minute to make an opening statement.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Travers, for having us. And thank you to all the members of the city of New Orleans who have met along this campaign trail. It's truly been a unique and great experience. My roots run deep in New Orleans. For the last several years, I've been a civil rights and labor and employment lawyer, fighting for equal pay issues for members of our most dire need in the community. Prior to that, for 12 and a half years, I've been a small business owner. I own NOLA Films. We recruited tens of millions of dollars of production, created hundreds of jobs. I rely on this experience, and the only candidate with such experience to bring to the legislature as an outsider's perspective, looking in to change some things. Right now in Louisiana, we need to come to a reality. We cannot continue to accept the same old politics from the same old political structures. Louisiana cannot continue to be 50th in everything from opportunity, education, healthcare, and everything else in the community. We need to look to better ourselves. We need to look, and all the while we're doing that, we need to make sure that we put people over politics, and I ask for your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Bordez. Mr. Duplessis, you were up 60 seconds to let voters know who you are and why you feel you're the best candidate.
Thank you, Travers, and thank you to WDSU. My name is Royce Duplessis, and I'm a product of New Orleans. I'm born and raised here. I began my education in the Orleans Parish public school system. Then I went on to St. Augustine High School, Xavier University, and Howard University School of Law. I've served as Chief of Staff to New Orleans City Council member. I've also worked as an attorney in private practice. I spent 5 years on the New Orleans City Planning Commission, most recently as the chairman, where I fought to protect and preserve our historic and precious neighborhoods. I've also served as special counsel to the Louisiana Supreme Court, where I fought for and helped implement some of the criminal justice reforms that we saw at the state level. I've worked in Baton Rouge on criminal justice reform policy, and I have the experience, the dedication, the vision to go to Baton Rouge immediately and to begin to work on this, on pushing the state forward for the reforms that we need. I have the vision, I have the experience, and I'm proud of that.
All right, Mr. Duplessis, thank you very much. Finally, an opening statement from you, Mr. Faust. Let voters know who you are and why you feel you are the best candidate to serve them in Baton Rouge.
Well, thank you very much for having us here today. My name's Dan Faust, and I'm running for state representative of the 93rd District. I'm not from New Orleans, and I'm not a lawyer. I gave up my career in finance when I decided to move here, and I gave to my heart to New Orleans. So while I have a degree in math, I sling drinks down in the French Quarter because my friends and the people who work down there are some of the best people you'll ever meet in the world. But I can't take it anymore. Politicians are making deals with corporations, and they're sticking taxpayers with the deal. We have the same highest sales tax in the country, and seems like every week I hear about another Boyle advisory, and it's a good day when I don't hear about somebody dying. Just last week, I saw over 300 people beg City Council not to build a plant proven to cause cancer within the middle of their community, and the City Council ignored them. I'm asking for your vote this March 24th and send someone who isn't in the pocket of big money. It's time to flip the script and upset the setup. My name's Dan Faust. I'm lucky number 7 on the ballot.
We're going right back down the line. In 30 seconds, Mr. Faust, if elected, what would be the first piece of legislation you'd author, if you could answer that in 30 seconds.
The first thing I would concentrate on is dismantling the convention center funding that keeps it separated from the accounts of the local parish, because we need that money to fund critical infrastructure needs and to fund our parish defender's office.
Mr. Duplessis, same question. This is a job in Baton Rouge that represents New Orleans. In 30 seconds, what would be the first piece of legislation you'd author if elected?
The first piece of legislation I would author would be to dismantle the current structure that has us limited from being able to set our own minimum wage as a municipality. Louisiana, we rank as one of 5 states in the country that does not have a minimum wage. I want to push for a living wage that would allow cities like New Orleans to be able to set a minimum wage far beyond the federal rate of $7.25. It costs roughly $18 an hour. It would require about $18 an hour for any family to be able to afford a place to live in this town, and we need a livable wage in this community.
All right, Mr. Bordes, same question. If elected, what would be the first bill that you would put your name on and author in the legislature?
I've said this from the beginning of the campaign. It has to be, as a labor and employment lawyer, it has to be lifting those barriers to create a minimum wage. What's good for New Orleans might not be good for Baton Rouge, might not be good for Shreveport, but we need to lift the barriers to allow municipalities like New Orleans to create their own minimum wages and also to control their own schools if need be. This is something that's going on for time and time again. We cannot default to the federal minimum wage, and we also need to create legislation that has teeth in order to enforce that minimum wage.
Mr. Anderson, same question. If you're elected, what is the first bill that you author in the legislature?
The first piece of bill in legislation that I would work on was work with Mayor-elect Cantrell to get our fair share of the convention center dollars so we can actually put it together to fight some crime.
Let me ask you this. We're going to start with you. In 1 minute, you have to answer this question. Harrah's Casino is in District 93. House Bill 553 authorizes Harrah's Casino to expand their operations in New Orleans. Do you support or oppose this legislation? In 1 minute, please explain why.
I'll support it. I need to find out exactly what is the bill, because I think all of us and none of our opponents, everybody's running for the same seat. It looks like we'll have to go and find out what the bill is, what the bill is, and then alter it to make it transparent to work for the city of New Orleans.
All right, same question, Mr. Bordes. House Bill 553 authorizes Harrah's Casino to expand their operations in New Orleans. Do you support it or oppose it? And you have 1 minute to explain why.
I would support expansion of business. We have a lot of people that work in the restaurant service hotel industry in New Orleans. I would also like to see other people be able to come to the table in order to participate in this expansion of casinos and gaming. We also have issues with the fairgrounds wanting to extend their hours, and that's a neighborhood that's very close, Fairgrounds Triangle, that's in this district. I do support it because I do like to see business and entrepreneurship continue on in the city because that's our lifeblood.
Mr. Duplessis, same question in 1 minute. Do you support or oppose this bill dealing with the expansion of Harrah's, which is in District 93 in downtown New Orleans?
I do support it. As we struggle with our fiscal crisis in this state, $1 billion shortfall, we need to find all avenues that we can to generate revenue, and I think this is one of those opportunities. I would, however, want to make sure that as Harrah's moves to try to expand, that they are held to the fire and ensuring that the commitments and the promises with respect to jobs and in lifting folks up in the community is met as well. And I want to make sure that women-owned, minority-owned businesses are able to take part in that participation as well. So I am in favor of it, but I just want to make sure that we do it in a way that's equitable so that everyone is lifted up.
Mr. Faust, same question in 60 seconds. Do you support or oppose this bill that would expand Harrah's Casino not far from here in downtown New Orleans?
Well, just like Mr. Anderson said, I would actually have to look through the legislation, but I see no reason to oppose it, considering the fact that you have a video poker machine sitting in nearly every single bar within this city. So gambling is legal throughout the city, and if it does spur investment, if it does create new communities and increases employment, then it's a win for the city, as long as they do act within certain guidelines and they do take care of their workers.
Let's start with you with this question. The old Charity Hospital site, a lot of people watching this know it's become an eyesore at the edge of downtown right there. It also sits in District 93. What is your plan or your vision for the old Charity Hospital site? You have 1 minute to answer that question, Mr. Faust.
There's been several conversations had about the old Charity Hospital. People have said they should change it to affordable housing, or it should be the area for the new city hall. No matter what happens, for me, I would kind of talk to the Mayor Cantrell in terms of what her vision is for it, and I would seek to support her.
All right, Mr. Duplessis, 1 minute, same question. What's your goal, what's your plan for Old Charity Hospital on that site right there on the edge of downtown?
No, my first step would be to get with all the experts, all the stakeholders. That building is a historic building, and it needs to be adaptively reused and put back into some form of use, because right now, not only is it an eyesore, I think it is a detriment and becoming a nuisance. So the idea of it possibly becoming a place where the courts and City Hall can coexist, if that can be done in a sound, efficient way, I'd support that. If it's a way that we can deal with the housing issue in our community in terms of providing affordable housing, I would support that. But not being a developer, I would have to get with the development community to figure out the best alternative and adaptive reuse of that facility, but it needs to happen.
All right, Mr. Bordes, same question. Charity Hospital is a big deal. What to do with that? What's your vision? What's your plan in 60 seconds?
Yes, so my mom was a nurse actually at Charity Hospital, and I remember going in there many years ago. And it's a beautiful Art Deco building. Everyone knows it, everyone sees it. It has fallen on hard times. We definitely need to get in there and find out what the cost would be to renovate that building and to get it back into use. In doing so, I want to make everyone aware of something that they all should be aware of, is the lack of mental health facilities in this city. We could use this building for any number of things. It could be a city hall, you could put courts there, you can do all these things that are cost efficient. But if we could find a way to get some dollars in federally or through the state and create a mental health facility, which is a centralized facility in this region, that could do a lot of good for people in this city that are dealing with mental health crisis, addiction, and all these things that we hear about that are becoming a large problem, but we are not addressing. So we need to find real creative solutions, and that's that kind of outside of the box thinking I'm trying to bring to Baton Rouge.
All right, Mr. Anderson, same question. In 1 minute, what is your plan, your vision, if elected, for the Old Charity Hospital site in downtown New Orleans?
My vision definitely be affordable housing, but like Mr. Fouts said, also I have to get with the Mayor-elect Cantrell and also the council person of that district to see what their vision is for that building and how it'll benefit the citizens of this city.
All right, y'all are going to be elected, whoever is elected, to a state seat, but it obviously represents New Orleans. A quick yes or no question here. We'll start with you, Mr. Anderson. Yes or no, did you support the takedown of the several monuments in the city of New Orleans? Yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Bordes? Yes, at that point it became inevitable and needed to happen.
All right, Mr. Duplessis, yes or no, did you support the takedown of the monuments?
Yes.
Mr. Faust?
I was there at every single one that they took down, so yes.
All right, let's start with you, Mr. Faust. State resources have been used to increase the law enforcement presence in the quarter, mainly state police. Do you believe the state police should create a new troop based in the French Quarter? You have 60 seconds to answer that question.
Right now we have several different police groups that are operating. You have the Downtown Developmental District, you have the Port Police, you also have the entire French Quarter Task Force. So while you do have the state police on the Bourbon Street itself, we should honestly look at how those resources can be applied to NOPD, and we have to hire more officers for NOPD.
Mr. Duplessis, same question. Do you believe that the state and state police should create a new troop based in the French Quarter? You have 1 minute.
Well, I think the French Quarter has a lot of unique needs, and with respect to police presence, there are police who respond to different issues, quality of life issues, calls for 911 emergencies, and so on and so forth. So I would want to know what this new troop would be, and if it has some sort of specific item that they focus on or issues that they focus on. I wouldn't oppose it. However, I do think that the New Orleans Police Department should be given all the resources and tools that it needs to be able to fill that void, and not necessarily having to lean on the state to do that. So I would be more in favor of ensuring that the New Orleans Police Department has all the tools that it needs to be able to respond and take care of the French Quarter, and not necessarily having to lean on the state for that.
All right, Mr. Bordes, 60 seconds. Do you support or oppose a state police troop in the French Quarter?
Initially, I would oppose it because I would like New Orleans Police Department to be able to control the city of New Orleans. I think that obviously there are special needs at special times where the state police are invaluable during Mardi Gras, French Quarter Fest, maybe even Jazz Fest and other times. But you need to look at New Orleans and the police department and why we can't keep officers, why we can't pay officers why they leave. Other police departments throughout the country and other big cities, they have wait lists to get on the police department. We don't have that here. We need to find out what's going on with our police department, and I think once the city of New Orleans is able to retain well-trained and funded police officers, they'll be able to deal with the French Quarter, and therefore it wouldn't be a state issue. But if it is a state issue, then I'm all for it.
Mr. Anderson, same question. Do you support or oppose a troop of state troopers in the French Quarter?
I'll support it, and I'll support it also if we have to, like I say, get to the meat of it to figure out, okay, what would they cover, how much of the district, how much of the quarters and outside of the district they cover. Because where I leave, we're in dire need of police whatsoever. So
Here's, before we get to closing statements, here's a quick yes or no. Should the sale of assault weapons and high-capacity magazines be banned in Louisiana, yes or no?
yes.
Mr. Bordes?
Yes.
Absolutely,
Mr. Duplessis?
When you're
Mr. Faust? Yes, you said Mr. Duplessis?
Yes,
Mr.
absolutely.
Faust?
When you're talking about military semi-automatic rifles, I don't support the banning of the full sales, but I do support the high-capacity magazines, but I also support licensing and actual screening and mental health checks.
Okay, here's another yes or no question before we get to closing. Legislation has been introduced again to eliminate the death penalty. Yes or no, should the death penalty be eliminated in Louisiana?
Yes.
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 All right. Let's get to closing statements. Mr. Anderson, we'll start with you. 30 seconds to tell the people in this diverse district that includes all of downtown New Orleans why you're the best candidate to represent them.
One, I am independent. I'm alone by myself, financing this campaign by myself. I just don't believe in raising tons of money to run a campaign because I've never finished paying whoever donated to those campaign funds to me off. So, one, I will fight. I will continue to fight and innovate for the citizens of the New Orleans.
All right, Mr. Bordes, in 30 seconds, let voters and viewers know why you feel you're the best candidate.
Absolutely. As I've said time and time again in this campaign, we are here to put people over politics. I want to be your uncompromised voice in the legislature. We're dealing with all these issues and ranking 50th that I mentioned at the beginning, and we're also dealing with passing a budget that's going to gut education and healthcare again. If we are able to pass a budget, which is going to be a big problem, we need to start working together, and we need to have outside perspectives and new ideas coming to Baton Rouge. And I want to be that person to bring those ideas. Thank
All right,
you.
Mr. Duplessis, 30 seconds for a closing statement.
Well, thank you again to WDSU. I started off in my opening discussing my experience and my qualifications. I'm going to finish talking about my why and why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I believe fundamentally in fairness. I'm doing this because I'm a consensus builder. We see what's going on right now in Baton Rouge, and the division cannot continue. I am that consensus builder. Baton Rouge needs someone who can work with all parties, all sides to get things done. And that's what we need in Baton Rouge, someone who's going to have the experience, the vision, and the respect and trust to get things done.
All right, and finally, Mr. Faust, 30 seconds to let voters know who you are and why they should vote for you.
Like I said, my name's Dan Faust. I was actually born in Puerto Rico, so I'm the only person who isn't from New Orleans. That means I don't have any family. I don't have any business interests. I haven't taken any dollars from anybody else. I'm also the only person who's ever served in the military that's in this group. My background's in math. It's not in law. It's based on numbers, following the money. I will hold those accountable who scoff the law and take excess tax credits and tax breaks and leave our services within the city underfunded.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Dan Faust, Royce Duplessis, Kenny Bordes, and Eldon L. Anderson. These are your candidates for the District 93 House seat. Election Day is Saturday, March 24th. I'm Travers Mackel. Until then, you can follow everything Election Central for 2018 on Twitter, Facebook, or on WDSU.com.